Hey, we're the Fords, and this is By Grace We Live. Welcome back to episode 2. If you hit the play button again, thank you. Seriously, we really couldn't appreciate it more. Ryan, what was the most exciting part of your week?
Well, recording episode 2.
No, up until this point, no. From the time we...
Releasing episode 1.
Okay.
What?
Sure. That
was exciting.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the most exciting part of your week. Surely there was other things you enjoyed.
We went to the zoo this morning.
Yes, we did.
Of the recording, not Monday morning, obviously, when this releases. But yeah, that was fun. That probably really was one of the more exciting things
yeah.
I've done this week. That was fun, going with Miles, and he's a little more, because we took him before, but now he's a little more aware of
what's going on and the animals.
And actually cares more about the animals and the snacks we give him.
Yeah, that's actually, I think he was more excited about the rice cakes that we were giving him the whole time than seeing the animals. Although I will say, that has been the most exciting part of my week as well.
I see how it is. Just stealing my answer.
Well, actually, it's tied with another thing, but I'll say it was fun because a lot of the animals were right up against the glass, so it was really easy for him to see them. But the thing that was a bummer is that they were all asleep. It was like they gave him like a huge dose of melatonin before we all got there this morning. I mean, the lions were sleeping, the bears were sleeping, the tiger was sleeping. What else? We couldn't really see the wolves or the coyote.
We saw him walking a little bit.
Yeah. He thought they were doggies, which that was cute. He said doggy.
Yeah.
I think he really enjoyed the lions.
Mm-hmm. Well, because those he could get right up. His face was literally next to it.
Yeah, it was fun. So yeah, I think that was the most exciting part of my week. And then also we were able to catch up with 2 different sets of friends that we haven't seen in a long time. Well, not like that we haven't seen, just that we haven't had like quality time with for a while. So it was really fun to hang out with them. And
yeah, that was all right.
Oh gosh. My social tank, like my love tank, was filled up to the brim because I love being around people and seeing them. And you were probably like, by the end of Monday night, needed to like sequester yourself for 24 hours to refill.
No.
You didn't feel that way?
Well, I mean, the times were spread out, so it wasn't like it was back to back.
Well, they were back to back. It was Sunday night and Monday night.
I guess. Well,
and then Tuesday night we even hung out with friends.
That's
too.
true.
Man, we were just real cool this week.
I was tired this week, so that makes sense.
That's why. Yeah, you probably didn't realize it, but we had a lot of back to back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
now I get it.
Cool. Before we get started today, we thought it'd be fun to introduce a new segment called Book Club.
Woo.
Which, if you didn't guess, is us talking about the books that we're currently reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's exciting.
It's an original name. It's a really creative name. Ryan, why don't you go first?
Okay.
What books are you reading?
So currently, I just started a book called Troll Magic.
Oh, boy.
Which is random, but it's about like Norwegian folk tales and things like that. So like trolls and trolls and whatever other kind of Norwegian. I've only read a few stories and most of them have had trolls. So
what made you want to read this?
Because of
You're a big fan of Frozen?
No. Well, I mean, it's a good movie, but no, although it is tied to Frozen in a way, because it's an old Disney World ride. It's actually not that old, but a few years ago it got replaced by a Frozen ride. Yep. Darn Frozen movies. But it's called the Maelstrom, and it is in Norway, in Epcot.
Yeah, not
the
the real
Norway
Norway.
Pavilion at Epcot.
I guess we didn't say this last week, but a really big fact about you is that you're obsessed with Disney.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't say that.
I don't know. I think we were both a little nervous. It was our first episode, and we're like, we're not good at talking about ourselves very well. And
Yeah.
but yeah, you're obsessed with Disney.
I love Disney.
Yes.
Disney World.
Disney
movies. Disney anything.
Books based off of Disney rides.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it's not based off of it, but anyways, the ride Norway, because all the different pavilions at Epcot, in the World Showcase, they all like have, little like historical things or teach you a bit about the culture or things like that. And so the Norway ride, I mean, well, we called it the Norway ride growing up, but it's really called the Maelstrom. But it takes it uses some Norwegian folk tales and folklore throughout the ride, and so I for some reason got a craving to what
Got a
is that
craving?
a weird way to say that?
It's craving some trolls.
Okay, now you're making it weird.
Okay, sorry.
I had a inkling for some trolls. But yeah, I just wanted to read more about the folk tales and things that inspired that ride. Or
It didn't inspire that ride,
well,
though,
it
right?
didn't, but I mean, it's like the culture. I just wanted to read about the folklore and the culture that helped inspire that ride. The book itself isn't the exact book that did that, but but yeah, so I found this book called Troll Magic, and it's actually pretty new. It just came out, but it's a recent translation of some like 1800s folk tales.
Oh, wow.
And it's actually like pretty well written.
How far are you?
Not that super far. I only read maybe 4 or 5 stories, but they're super short. They're like 3 pages.
Okay.
So they're all real quick bites, which is nice because it's easy to like.
A story about a troll would be kind of a snoozer.
No, but there is a troll movie coming out on Netflix that I really want to watch.
Is it based off of like the folklore, or is it like trolls?
It's actually
the world tour.
No,
movies?
It's not that. It's not the toy troll
Okay.
or whatever. But it's actually like in Norwegian, like the language, whatever. I don't know if it's Norwegian or whatever the language is called.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's in that language.
So subtitles.
So it's like we would have to read subtitles. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll have to read subtitles
because
you're
watch
not.
it. No, let's be real.
But it looks really good, and I saw it a couple weeks ago. So the trailer. But anyways, yeah. So that's one book I'm reading, and then I always try to read a book of poetry and have that like as something. But I usually go through those pretty slowly. I'll only read like maybe 1 or 2 poems a day, so that way it's not like. Because they're meant to be kind of like read slowly and not,
really
not
let you
flying
soak it
through a bunch of poems. So I'm still reading the Leavings that I talked about last week that inspired the name by Wendell Berry, which is good. Wendell Berry, I really like him as a poet and as a writer. But
yeah, another thing that we forgot to mention last week. You're a poet.
Yeah, I guess.
You're not a published poet in the sense of that Wendell Berry is, but
Right.
you write poetry, which is amazing.
I dabble.
Yeah.
I dabble.
If you want to check out some of his work, find him at Of Earth and Acorns at Instagram.
Yep. Nice plug there.
I know. I'm trying real hard. Well, cool.
Yeah. What are you reading?
Well, okay, so I gave a little backstory about me. I'm not a very good reader. I can read and I can comprehend.
You mean that you don't read very much?
I don't
Not
read
that
often.
You
I'm
can't
not a good
read
reader.
well.
I don't read often, but I made it a goal for myself to read 12 books this year in 2022, and I've actually completed 9 so far. So that's pretty stellar. Halfway through the year, I'm already over
Yeah, that's really good.
halfway. So that's how math works.
Good
6 would be
also,
half.
Also
but I'm
not
at 9.
great at math.
I'm also not great at, I'm not great at a lot of things regarding math, science, but that's the story for another time. Anyway, so it's really funny though, because, this year is also the year that I've been asked to do more book studies than I ever have in my entire life, probably. So I just finished for fun reading the Office BFFs book by Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. I've actually read other Office books before, and I listened to the Office Ladies podcast. And so I was a little nervous that maybe this would just feel like super repetitive, like, oh, I've heard all these stories before. But I didn't feel that way at all. They had a lot of like content about their personal relationship and like stuff behind the scenes, which I thought was fun. And they like went through and broke down like special stories about many of the main characters on the show that they just don't do when they're doing their podcasts. And so I really enjoyed it. That was a quick read too, which I like. And there was a lot of photos. I think they said they went from like over 1,000 pictures and narrowed it down to 400.
Oh my goodness.
They included 400 pictures in their book.
That's a lot of pictures.
It's a lot. But they were fun to look at. So I just finished that. And I started 2 other books because I'm in book studies for them. One is called The Power of the Praying Parent, and it's by, I don't actually know how to say her last name. So Stormie Omartian? I don't know how to say it, but Power of the Praying Parent. And then the other one is called Enough by Sharon Jaynes. And I have only read the first chapter of each book. But so far, I think they will be really helpful. The Power of the Praying Parent, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. But something that I really liked in the first chapter was they talked about like how as parents, we have the privilege of praying for our kids. And an idea that the author gave was writing like individual lists for each of your children about specific prayer requests that you have to the, like for them, which I thought was neat because it kind of shows like each child is different. Each child has different needs. Maz is only 1.5 years old. So what I would pray for him is going to look very different now.
From what you pray for Ace, for Riley.
Yeah, so I pray for Ace or Riley. Yeah. Oh gosh, those are very different. Ace and Riley, I'm like, let me not get rid of them. Just kidding. I love them. I do. I really do. No, but like now as a 1.5-year-old, my prayers for him are going to be very different than they'll be when he's like 6. So I liked that idea, and I think I'll start to do that. And then if we have more children, I'll do that for them as well. And then Enough is about exposing the lies that the enemy tries to use to keep us tangled up in shame and self-doubt and insecurities. And I can already tell this one's going to be a doozy. I just feel like it's going to bring up a lot of stuff and like things that maybe I've kind of been like shoving down and stuffing down for years. But since I am going through it with a group of women, I'm going to have to like face some of those lies that I believe and combat them with the truth. Obviously that's the goal. But so I also think I'm going to need to find like a fun book to read on top of that, because those are just like really heavy.
Yeah.
But in reality, I actually have like a stack of 5 books on my nightstand right now.
Yeah.
That I've read like little bits of
That's
already.
True.
So I could just pick one of
You're
those.
really good at starting books.
I am really good at starting books. The problem is I fall asleep when I start reading. And a simple solution to that would be to sit up when I'm reading a book.
Yeah.
But that's too.
Or just not read right before you're going to pass out.
That's often the only time that I have in the day where I can really settle down and enjoy a book. But
That's
anyway.
true.
So yeah, our reading genres are very different.
What?
You're reading about trolls. I'm reading about the Lord.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, for today's episode, as a way for you guys to get to know us a little bit more, we thought it would be really fun if
Fun's one word to describe it.
I thought it would be really fun, and Ryan's just along for the ride, if we shared how we met and fell in love, and now how we're living happily ever after.
Yeah.
That's a Disney reference. Did you get it?
I got it.
Okay. So this is pretty much going to be me telling the story because Ryan has no recollection at all of how we met or how he felt. Or
I didn't say no recollection, but it's
I'm just better at
you can
storytelling.
remember things like what we were wearing.
I remember what you were wearing the first
Okay.
time we hung out in like a group setting. Yes,
Yeah.
I do. I don't
See?
remember what I was wearing.
But I mean, I don't remember what anyone was wearing. So
You still have it. It was the orange Henley shirt that you had.
Oh, yeah.
We wore it. You wore it in our engagement pictures. Anyway,
did you pick that out for me?
I did.
Because
I
that
did.
was, oh wow.
Anyway, so Ryan and I went to college together, and we actually had a class together. My sophomore year, your junior year, I think.
You're the one who's supposed to remember the details.
I know. Okay, I'm pretty
No,
sure
I think that's
it.
right. Yeah.
And Ryan always sat in front of me, never talked, which I'm sure that's a big surprise to anyone.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't talk to anyone.
I know, no, we didn't
Except
talk.
was Joey in our class?
Was he? I don't know.
I feel like there was someone I knew in that class, but now I'm not sure.
Ezra was in our class.
Yeah, but I
Because
mean,
I remember
I didn't really know him
brought
that.
up the one time that he
super
had an
well.
attorney, and then our professor was like, "What do you need an attorney for?" And he's like, "Well, it's also my brother." Anyway, it's a little
It's
fun
funny.
story about a guy we went to school with. But anywho,
Yeah.
So yeah, the only time we actually talked in that class was when we took a group test together, and you borrowed my pencil. I remember that,
Apparently.
and that was it.
Yeah.
That's all. So
I remember being really happy we had you in our group.
yeah, why is
Because you
that?
answered a lot of the questions.
I did. I was a really good test taker. Anyway, so that's kind of like our first initial contact. And you'll kind of see through our story, there's this funny theme woven through it that like we really didn't have a choice
Deception and lies.
about ending up together.
Just kidding.
Everyone around us seemed to be trying to make that happen.
We're pretty much an arranged marriage.
Yeah, basically. So the first time that sort of thing went down was still my sophomore year. And so we were in the class together, again, not talking, but I was friends with one of Ryan's roommates, and I was eating lunch with him one day. And he just was like, "Sarah, you know what? You really need a boyfriend." And I was like, "I really don't, actually. Thank you very much." And he's like, No. You need a boyfriend. You'd be great for my friend Ryan." And he pointed him out across the cafeteria. And I was like, "I really don't want a boyfriend, but again, thank you for thinking of me." And then he said, "Actually, you know what? Never mind. He just got out of a relationship, and all he does is play video games all day." And I was like, "Wow, you're really, really selling him well."
Yeah, what a guy.
I know. So that was like the first initial time someone pointed Ryan out to me. And then the following year, my roommate and I ended up going to the same church that Ryan was going to. Again, didn't know that he went there or anything like that. And we had been going for a couple weeks, and we kind of decided like we wanted to get involved a little more. So they were talking about home groups or like Bible studies that were starting up, and they had mentioned to sign up on our way out of church. So we went to the table, and wouldn't you know it, Ryan's dad is the one that was manning the table. And we had said like, "Oh, we go to Malone. We want to sign up for a small group." And he points to Ryan, and he's like, "My son goes to Malone. Do you know him?" And I think I said like, "I don't know. Yeah, like I know who he is, but we don't talk." He's like, "Well, this is the home group that he goes to. You guys should go here. A lot of college students go to this home group." And so we were like, "Okay."
Which is true.
It's true. That was true. So we
You
signed up.
probably would have gone there to that one regardless.
Yes. We signed up, and I remember like the week of the home group, Ryan's dad texted me to give me the information of like the house it was at and what time it started and all that. And then he said, "By the way, my son Ryan offered to come and take you guys if you wanted a ride." And I was like, "No, I don't want to ride. Thank you, though." And I thought that was super weird. I was like, "What? Why is he offering to bring us?" Do you want to chime in?
Which I didn't.
Yeah. So
it was news to me.
I learned later on that never happened. Like Ryan never said he would take us.
I mean, I think my dad asked me. My dad had mentioned to me, like, "Hey, I don't remember something about like offering to take you guys." But like I feel like when he told me, it sounded like he already did it, and I was like, I mean, yeah, I can.
Yeah,
it's okay.
So Ryan didn't go out of his way to make that offer, is what we're saying. So we go to the home group, and of course, like everyone is super welcoming, super friendly, asking us about it. Me and my best friend Brittany were there, and they're asking us both about ourselves. And I remember when I met one of Ryan's sister-in-laws, which is also now one of my sister-in-laws, Lauren. She was like, "Oh, Ryan goes to Malone. Do you know Ryan?" And I was like, I know who he is. We don't talk, whatever." We did not speak at all that night. I mean, maybe we said hi to each other because she was like, "Ryan, they go to Malone." But like, we didn't talk. Well, following that home group, Lauren had asked me and Brittany to go and get coffee. And you were a big topic of conversation that entire night. And I was like, okay, I think I'm starting to piece some things together. And we left, and my roommate Brittany was just like, she talked a lot about Ryan. And I was like, yep, she sure did. But I really didn't think much of it. And then following that little coffee date, she had texted me and mentioned that she ran into you, and you had asked how coffee went with me and Brittany, and then you said that you'd be interested in hanging out with all of us. And I was like, oh wow, okay. And at first I thought, that's kind of weird. He's like telling her he'd be interested in hanging out, not like making an effort to talk to me or whatever. Right. But
because I didn't.
Okay, yeah. So again,
well, I mean, I think it was something more of like she may have asked you, yes, about it. It wasn't like me, like
you weren't like, I'd really love to hang out with her.
Like I wasn't the one who brought all this up.
Yes. So I learned that later on. But anyway, we did go, the 5 of us. So it was me and my roommate Brittany, Ryan, and then Lauren and Ryan's brother Justin all hung out one night, and we went to Starbucks to start.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
And what was I wearing?
An orange Henley shirt. And then we went to Applebee's afterwards. And I remember we sat by each other at Applebee's. And I know specifically I had learned by now that you enjoyed comics and superheroes and all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And my brothers, I mean, they all watched that. But my one brother specifically is like a diehard comic book superhero fan. So I had some knowledge, and I think like the newest Superman had just come out. Yeah. I don't know which one it
Man
was.
Of Steel, I believe.
In the lineup, and like people were mixed reviews about it or whatever. And I was like, I'm gonna ask him what he thought of it to make it seem like I know what I'm talking about. And so I did. I asked you what you thought, and then you just started talking, and I was like, oh great, I don't have to pretend like he's talking. I really didn't. I don't think I said very much. Except for like, I liked it. But in that moment, I knew he was hooked. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
And then you reached out and requested me on Facebook and messaged me and then asked for my phone number. And the rest is history. Yeah. So basically we had his roommate, his dad, and his sister-in-law all conspiring at different points to bring the 2 of us together. And they were onto something, because
I guess so.
Here we are. We've been married for 6 years. So we dated for 2 years and then got married shortly after our 2-year anniversary. And now we've been together for 6.5 years. And it's been pure bliss.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. I always ask you, like, what did you think of me when we first started talking? Or what did you think when everyone was conspiring to make us hang out? And you always
at the time, I didn't really know that people were conspiring necessarily.
True. Yeah.
Because I didn't know the other side of the story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your dad has told me that he knew, like sending me to that home group, he was like, I knew you were the one. And I was like, how could you know that after just meeting me for like 2 minutes?
I know. You could have been like a serial killer for all he knew.
Thank God I wasn't.
I know. Well, There's still time.
Okay, jeez. That got dark real fast. But okay, that first initial night when the 5 of us hung out, you don't have any thoughts, recollections. What made you reach out to me?
Well, I mean, I liked you, and you talked about superheroes.
Yeah, so it worked.
more accurately, you listened to me talk about superheroes.
Yeah,
which doesn't really happen anymore. But I'm just kidding.
Not true.
I know. You do.
That is not true at all.
Yep.
I just sat and listened to you talk about trolls, and I was engaged.
No. Well, that's because you have to be.
Well, you talked about your dream that you had the other night, and it involved.
Oh, yeah.
Captain Luke Picard or whatever.
Jean-Luc Picard.
Jean-Luc Picard.
Not Luke Picard. Gee whiz.
I said Captain.
Yeah, you got that right.
Jean-Luc
Picard. Jean-Luc is his first name.
Sorry.
Yeah. He was okay. So
yeah,
I had
feel
this
like you have to
dream.
explain that now.
Like the other night, I don't really remember a lot about it, but the only detail I do remember really is that whatever church we were going to, because it wasn't the church we go to now, but in the dream, my dream church. Well, not my dream church, but you know what I mean. The church of my dream.
In your dream,
yeah.
Yes.
Actually, maybe it was my dream church. I mean, so anyways, the pastor was Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah,
so
totally
he
normal.
was which I don't know why, but the weird thing was that he was wearing the uniform from the original series. So the continuity was all out of whack in my dream.
Absolutely.
And
bizarre.
Yeah, and not only that, but he wasn't even wearing command yellow in the original series. He was wearing the like medical science color blue.
Yeah.
And short sleeves, which means I'm assuming he was wearing medical, because the only person that I could recall in the original series wearing short sleeves was Dr. McCoy. Bones. That was way too much information.
I know.
There goes our viewers or our listeners.
We went from 15 to 5.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
That was my dream, though.
That was your dream. And I sat there and I was engaged and I was asking you questions.
I mean, to be fair, it didn't last long. And you were trapped because we were in the car.
That's true. Well, anyway. Yeah. So you liked the fact that I listened to your...
Yeah. No, I mean, I liked you.
That's good. Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
that's good.
There's a spark, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think what I liked most about you when I really started getting to know you was that you didn't annoy me.
Well, that's a plus.
I know that's a real high compliment.
Yeah, that's...
But, like, my experience in the past had been either guys were trying, like, too hard and were really obnoxious, or they were just very like emotionally immature and insecure, and I never saw any of that in you. And you always made me laugh like a lot, and you're very thoughtful. Uh-huh. I remember. Do you remember our first like dinner date? Before
at the dorm?
No.
Oh.
I think we went to TGI Fridays, like out in a public. Do you remember?
Vaguely.
Okay. Well, I had just gotten back from I was an RA and we had like a staff retreat, and I was doing laundry. But on the retreat, we had those caramel apple suckers that you get. I don't know. My mom always had those when we were younger. And I had one in one of my pockets and I was saving it for getting back to school and whatever. Forgot about it, washed it in my coat. I was so mad because I really wanted it. And when you showed up to pick me up for our first dinner date, you had bought Werther's caramels.
Yeah, because I couldn't.
Apple. Yeah, you couldn't find the suckers.
I couldn't find the suckers. I went to the store, and so I was like, "Well, these are similar, I guess."
Yeah, it was sweet. It was a sweet gesture, but
it's caramel and apple.
Then later in that evening, same night, you told me that I wasn't as pretty as Natalie Portman.
Okay, no, now I didn't. That was not my intention. I like messed up the words.
Yeah,
that's what came out, but that's not what I meant.
It was so funny, though. We were talking about Star Wars, I think. Right? Because she was in, like, the episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And I just said, like, man, she's just so pretty. And you said not as pretty. No, you were trying to say.
I was trying to say not as pretty as you,
but you said you're not as pretty as her.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay.
Whoops.
This is going well. I'm getting some mixed signals here. But no, I immediately knew. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And you dropped your fork in that moment too.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. So you're like, wow, this is going great.
Oh, good times.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we get to share all this to the world.
Sorry. It's endearing.
That's one word for it.
Because you were so nervous, and so you're fumbling, and it was sweet. Anyway, obviously, things worked out. Here we are.
Yep.
6 years later, we're married, got 2 dogs, and our son, and living life. It's wonderful.
Living life.
So yeah, that's how we met.
It is.
We didn't have a choice. We were destined to be together.
It's true. We were.
What is one way you feel like you've grown in the last 6 years of us being married?
Well, I definitely think that you've helped me feel more comfortable with who I am, because I'm a nerd. And you know what I mean? I don't know. And like, I feel like I've been able to just be me. And that's really nice.
That is nice. I'm glad you feel that way.
And just move and be able to go out of my comfort zone a little more. Not like I'm kicking down doors or anything, but you know, we're not like doing anything crazy, but
yeah,
you know, I'm a little more likely to push the boundaries.
Yeah, like doing this.
Yeah.
Sharing your deepest, darkest,
endearing stories.
Yeah, secrets. I think we were having a conversation one time about how people. So obviously, like, we have a lot of differences. Like, we're not the same in many ways, and I think a lot of times people say like opposites attract. But were you the one that said? How did you frame it? It's not that like we are making each other better, but we're pulling each other closer to. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Like a center.
Yeah.
I don't know if I came up with that. If I said that, I mean, I feel like I've heard somebody say that.
Yeah.
Like
but
we
explain that better, because it's not. I'm butchering it.
Well, I think it's just that, like, what, you know, my qualities, such as more introverted tendencies, and, you know, not willing to go out of my comfort zone as much, or things like that. You kind of help pull myself to like a center that's more healthy, because obviously any extreme is not always healthy in a lot of cases, and so an extreme introvert isn't going to be super healthy, but not that being introvert's bad. I mean, that I'm an introvert.
No,
no shame. But
not at all.
No. But like, just I would, you know, be more likely to miss out on things because I'm not willing to go out of my comfort zone or whatever. Yeah. So like, you help pull me into a more of a center, which helps some of my more extreme qualities that are like. And then same thing for you, I think, where I pull you into more of like a
more balanced.
And
well, because I think
we pull each other towards the center. Yeah.
The conversation we were having was like, oh, I have these weaknesses and they have these strengths. And I'm so glad that they can provide that strength in my weakness. But then sometimes that leaves you just living in that weakness and not like changing.
Yeah.
And I just like how your analogy of like, it's not that like you're supposed to like.
It's like it's like lifting a weight. It's like your weakness. I'm not gonna just go and lift the entire weight for you. It's that my strength of that area is going to team with your weakness in the area, and we're gonna lift it together. Yeah. And so you're still flexing your muscles and attempting. You know what I mean? And it's not. It's so that way you can grow, and then you do the same thing for me.
Yeah.
And my weaker areas, and then where you're stronger, and you come and you just help bear the brunt maybe initially of some of the heavier lifting, but it's not that you're lifting it alone,
right?
Which I think is the important part. Yeah.
So I think for me, the ways that you've helped me grow, one for sure I know is being more intentional with my words. I mean, I've always been known to not have much of a filter, and believe it or not, guys, I've gotten a lot better. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
I don't think through things very well before I say them, and oftentimes I'm trying to say something to be funny or to lighten the mood or crack a joke or whatever, but it can
all of a sudden there's a foot in your mouth.
Yes, foot and mouth syndrome. I have it, and or it can be taken the wrong way.
Yeah.
Or it's just very thoughtless. Like I'll say something, I never think about it again, but maybe what I said could have been like potentially really hurtful to someone. And when we started dating, well, first of all, you're super intentional with anything that you say. You don't like, especially if it's like a deep topic or if someone asks you a very like specific question, you think through the entire thing before you share.
Well,
like,
I think a lot of that has to do with because I'm an internal processor.
Yeah, and I'm external. And so
Right.
a lot of times I'm trying to figure it out as I go.
Yeah.
It's like The Office where Michael Scott is in the meeting with David Wallace and he's just saying nonsense. And he's like, sometimes I start sentences and I don't know where they're going to end up. I do that a lot. I still do that. Like I'm an external processor as well. But I have become better at stopping before speaking or really thinking like, okay, if I make this joke, could it be harmful? Like, could someone take it the wrong way? Or and I've even like gone back and apologized to people sometimes too. Like, I'm really sorry I said that. I don't like, did that make you feel upset? But yeah, you just really helped me be more intentional with that. It's been a very sanctifying thing. Sometimes annoying, if I'm being honest, because there'd be moments where you'd be like, you can't say stuff like that, or, you know, you shouldn't say stuff like that. And I'd be like, stop trying to change me. But the reality is, like you just said, there are ways that like we help balance each other out and become better versions of ourselves. And I think that's one of the really beautiful parts of marriage. So yeah. Well, any final thoughts for today?
I don't think I got any today.
Okay.
No.
Well, that's it, guys. That's episode 2. We are the Fords, and we're super thankful you're here. If you haven't already, please check us out on Instagram at By Grace We Live Pod. And if you're following along on Apple, Google, or Spotify podcasts, make sure you leave a rating. I know on Apple you can actually leave a written review. Yeah. I think at this time, Spotify, you can rate the podcast, and I don't know if Google has any options. I don't think you can rate on Google, no. So that's a bummer. But if you have a chance, we would appreciate it. It would mean so much to us. So we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.